Hello YouTube friends, Box Van D here today. I would like to share a little bit about my history with music. I have a long history of loving music. It has always been a huge part of my life. I enjoy singing, which I wasn't too bad at when I was younger. Traveling on the road in a car with seven people, we did a lot of singing, and my parents, one thing they did is compliment me for my singing ability back then. Even though my voice is low and cracked and pretty much gone these days, I still enjoy singing. It's really a pleasurable experience for me. And I enjoy a mix of music, or variety of music. I like folk, pop, classical, rock and roll, blues, soul, and even spiritual music. Those are some of my favorites. I enjoy the music from the past more than today's music because back then they seemed to have more meaning. They said something. Everything when you sang a song, the words meant something, and they evoked memories and feelings of joy, sadness, hope, excitement, nostalgia. So I have always loved musical instruments too, even since I was very young. I still have very good memories of my first musical instrument. I remember making a guitar out of a cereal box and different size rubber bands, and I plucked those strings and sang with that till I was blue in the face. Literally. So the second instrument I ever had, I believe, was my parents got me a little xylophone. What it was is a little board with 8 metal strips across it, and you would play with it with a little wooden kind of drumstick with a little wooden knob on the end. And I still remember that it was color coded. So even back then I could play like little tunes like Mary Had a Little Lamb and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So I had a great love for music even then. As a teenager, I got a harmonica, and I was able to play pretty well. I could just hear the music in my ears. I never could read music, but I could hear it. I could hear it in my ears and play what I was hearing in my ears. Silly, but that's how I learned to play instruments. As in the 3rd or 4th grade, I think, I played the auto harp. And an auto harp is a kind of it's a stringed instrument with little buttons that have wooden pads and felt under them, and strings all the way across the board with a little hole in there to get the sound volume coming up, and you could play the chords and just strum the strings. So I never forgot the auto harp. I used to sing on that, and I remember my mother was called to the school to come and hear how supposedly how wonderful her daughter played the auto harp. So later, the next instrument I remember was a chord organ. We were working in the fields in the summer, and my parents had gone to an auction, and they found this little chord organ. I was probably 20 keys or whatever, and they brought it home for me for my birthday one year. I think they paid back then, which was a lot of money back then, $10 or $15 for it, and it was in good condition, and I learned to play that by ear. Everything I do is by listening and just hearing the sounds. So I played the little chord organ until one day I had a bad tooth, was rotted out. I was putting aspirin on my tooth every day, all day, just to take the pain away. My parents couldn't afford to take me to a dentist to have that tooth pulled. So I sold my chord organ, and I was able to pay to have the tooth pulled. So one other experience I will share just before I go on. I had a neighbor that was an old lady in her late 90s, and we called her Grandma Fulton. And I would go over to her house and clean for her and iron her clothes and whatever she needed to be done, cook a little lunch or breakfast. I was probably 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old. And one day I just walked up her door and asked her if she had any work I could do. Anyhow, I used to go visit her every single day, and she just loved me. And it was a pretty special memory. And she had a beautiful baby grand piano. She was a pianist when she was young, and she wanted to teach me how to play. Of course, she died before I ever learned, but before she died, she told my parents that she wanted me to have her baby grand piano. And the problem was, of course, we're moving all the time, so obviously I couldn't have it. I couldn't take it. But the sweetness of this little old lady that wanted to give me her baby grand piano was a very special memory to me. So later on, as I got older, I still always loved music. I was always in the school choirs and church choirs and always sang a lot in those things. I sang in my brother's 8th grade graduation, Climb Every Mountain, and I sang You'll Never Walk Alone at my graduation from 8th grade. And so I'll go on about that. So when I was a teenager and I lived with my sister and brother-in-law, I was 15 or 16 when I moved in with them. And we used a bunch of my friends get together for a church group, a youth group meeting once a week. And they had a piano there. And a little guy that was friends with me, Tommy Hoffman, he was my boyfriend. He loved Beethoven. He would get on the piano and play Beethoven like crazy. And he taught me how to play some 3-finger chords on the piano. From there, I learned to play 1 or 2 finger melody, and I played the chords. I learned how to find a chord by just a thing he showed me, how you can find the chord. So I learned how to play by ear again on the piano, and my sister and her husband decided they wanted to rent me a piano while I was living with them. And they rented a piano for 6 months, and I learned to play quite a few songs on the piano, a lot of religious songs, but a few other songs, and I loved the piano. But then my brother-in-law got transferred to Blythe for his job, and we had to leave that behind. But I have had instruments my whole life, at least semi-instruments. And then as an adult, I bought my first guitar probably back in the, I don't know, late 60s or early 70s. I bought my first guitar, and I have been playing off and on guitar, never really learned, never got good. But I love guitar and I love to sing, so guitar is a perfect instrument when you love to sing. So I've always loved guitar. I love the sound of it, and I love the way it feels, and I love to sing with it. Over the years, I've had many guitars. I've had really good ones. I've had even 12 strings, and I've never really got good at that. So in the next video, I hope you'll come and find out what happened to me, why I can't play the guitar very well. So I will share that with you in my next video. Today I want to say I thank you for coming. I enjoy sharing some of my stories from when I was young. I'm getting old. I don't have as good as stories these days, but I had wonderful experiences in spite of my traumatic childhood and life. And I want to share the encouraging, inspirational stuff with you. So, hope you enjoyed this video today. I would appreciate it if you would hit the thumbs up and check out the description below this video. If you really liked my video, share it out on your social media and let people know that you enjoyed it, and maybe people will come to the channel and see what it's all about. Thank you for coming. I love you all. Please make sure that you let somebody know how much they mean to you today. Some people, they rarely hear that, even from their own children. So make sure you tell somebody that you love them with all your heart and that they're special and they're important. And that's what is one of my biggest healers, because people have loved me here on YouTube, and I'm healing from all the past, all the trauma. And just knowing you're loved, it can be a healer. So thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.